During my second year of college, I had the privilege of enjoying a peaceful and incident-free time. However, one day, I found myself in an uncomfortable situation while talking to a guy from another major. He was leaning in a bit too close for comfort, but I brushed it off initially, hoping it was just a momentary oddity. As we conversed, I received a text from a friend. She informed me that she could see me talking to this guy from across the parking lot. She warned me that he had harassed her before and might have the same intentions with me. Trying to remain composed, I steered the conversation towards a natural conclusion, hoping he would take the hint and leave. Unfortunately, he didn't seem to get the message and insisted on accompanying me wherever I was headed. I decided to use a restroom break as an excuse to distance myself from him. When I exited the restroom, he was waiting for me, claiming he had been waiting the whole time. Feeling uneasy, I told him I needed some alone time and had to go. As I walked away, he followed closely and uttered unsettling words. "You shouldn't have done this." Fear gripped me as he drew near. I asked him what he meant, but he kept closing in. In a panic, I sprinted towards my dorm room, with him following closely behind. I reached the building, opted for the stairs instead of the elevator, and dashed into my room, locking the door behind me. I was trembling and out of breath. Desperate, I called my friend for advice, and he told me to stay in my room and never opened the door until he arrived. I agreed, my voice quivering. Fortunately, the guy didn't find my room. Later, I learned that he was expelled from college due to multiple harassment cases involving other girls. I never understood his intentions, but that night, it felt like I had saved myself from a potentially dangerous situation. Back in my college days, life was pretty routine. I had my study sessions and shared a room with a roommate. However, one night, things took an eerie turn. My roommate had gone home due to sickness, and I was left with the room all to myself. It seemed like a nice opportunity for some peace and quiet. In the dead of night, at around 3 or maybe 4 a.m., I was rudely awakened by the creaking of our room's door. I figured it must be my roommate returning unexpectedly, so I didn't think much of it. I heard footsteps, the sound of someone walking across the room, and then the unmistakable sound of someone getting into your bed. It was all a bit odd, but I brushed it off, thinking maybe my roommate had an early start. However, when I woke up in the morning, something didn't add up. My roommate's bed was perfectly made, and there was no sign of him. This was unusual because he didn't typically leave for the gym without saying anything. I decided to give him a call, and to my surprise, he answered from his home. I was utterly confused and thought I might have dreamt the whole thing or perhaps experienced a hallucination. But there on the floor of my room were footsteps, real and tangible. It sent shivers down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I can honestly say it was one of the most terrifying moments of my life. And to this day, I can't explain what happened that night. My university was tucked away in a small and unfamiliar town, and its history was shrouded in tales of the supernatural. The place was dotted with 1800s buildings, each with its own eerie reputation. But the most famous ghostly inhabitant was Mary, said to reside on the 5th floor of Old Main. The story goes that Mary met a tragic end, either by her own hand or a fatal fall down an elevator shaft, just days before her graduation in the 1800s. Even renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren sensed her presence, along with that of an elderly woman, during their visit to the 5th floor. I had the unique experience of working alone on the 5th floor, back when it was used for storage. The lights were dim, and the hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, with empty rooms creating an eerie atmosphere. You'd often get that spine-tingling sensation that someone was lurking at the far end of the corridor. One fateful night, as I toiled away on the 5th floor, I saw a lady at the far end of the hallway. I asked her what she was doing there, but when she turned to look at me, I was met with a sight that still haunts my dreams, a face that looked ancient with entirely black eyes. I stumbled and fell to the floor in shock, then sprinted away from that chilling presence. Nowadays, the 5th floor houses professors' offices and secretaries, so it's not as eerie as it once was. But for me, that encounter remains the most terrifying college story I've ever experienced. Beyond the 5th floor, my colleagues who worked overnight shifts shared spine-tingling tales of their own screams echoing through the halls, demonic scratches, doors slamming shut, and even the eerie sound of wet children's footsteps in vacant parts of the building. The list of unsettling encounters goes on, scattered throughout the entire campus. It's definitely unnerving, but if you're a believer in the supernatural, it's also strangely fascinating.